Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. Volodymyr Zelensky has knocked out Petro Poroshenko in the second round of the Ukrainian presidential elections. Zelensky won over 73% of the votes to Poroshenko's 24%.
Joy has taken over in Zelensky's headquarters. Volodymyr Zelensky has won the second round of elections. Volodymyr Zelensky is a political newcomer known first and foremost from a popular Ukrainian TV series Servant of the People, in which the president-elect played the role of a schoolteacher who runs for president and wins. Of course, apart from the conversation in Minsk, I think that our main task now is to rescue all of our captured citizens and soldiers. I will tell you, I don't know whether I have the legal right to save them, as I haven't yet gotten my presidential status officially, but I have talked with the parents of the Ukrainian mariners that are being held against their will, and we cannot remain passive. I will do everything that's in my power to bring them home. The Polish president's chancellery has stated that the President Duda has been on the phone with the winner of the election. President Andrzej Duda has congratulated to the Ukrainian president-elect Volodymyr Zelensky and invited him to Poland. The Prime Minister of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, is hoping that under the new leadership in Ukraine, it will be easier to normalize its relations with Russia. Petro Poroshenko has admitted his defeat and congratulated his rival. The parting president has announced that he's not leaving politics. Never give up. This is a phrase that I'm hearing now when I see results of the polls. They are clear, and they give me the basis to call my contestant and congratulate him. Dear Ukraine, this month I will give up my position as head of state. This is a decision made by a majority of Ukrainians, and I agree with that decision. I am leaving office, but I want to state clearly that I'm not leaving politics. Zelensky won in all circuits in his country except from the Lviv district, while Poroshenko got majority of the votes. The final results will be announced by the Central Electoral Commission on May 4th.
290 people have been killed and more than 500 wounded after a series of bombings on Easter Sunday in Sri Lanka. According to authorities, the attack was carried out by 7 suicide bombers from a radical Islamic organisation. Today, another explosion took place in the capital, Colombo.
The attacks were carried out on Sunday morning in 3 Catholic churches in the capital of Colombo and 2 other cities during Easter Mass. At the same time, bombs exploded in the restaurants of 3 luxury hotels in Colombo. I think it's a very serious situation that was intended to destabilize our country and economy. I condemn this attack on religious institutions and hotels in the capital. According to the authorities, the attack was carried out by 7 suicide bombers from a radical Islamic organization called NTJ. Because of the attack, a curfew has been introduced. Also, social media activity has been suspended. 24 people were detained in the investigation undertaken by the authorities. All suspects come from Sri Lanka. Eyewitnesses spoke of the horrible effects of the explosions. I heard an explosion first, then the roof fell on our head. We took our children and ran out through the back doors. My brother-in-law and his son are in hospital. The State Security Council held a meeting in Colombo. The meeting touched on the subject of disregarding a warning about the possibility of attacks. Similar warnings have been previously conveyed by American services. Polish President Andrzej Duda and the Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki both posted their condolences on Twitter on behalf of Poland. The tragedy that happened in Sri Lanka is shocking. On Easter Sunday, we especially connect with the suffering and the injured people. We support the desperate people spiritually. Despite the special holiday season, it's hard to hold back anger against brutal and cynical terrorists attacking what's most important. The attacks in churches and hotels in Sri Lanka are a huge tragedy. It's very painful because it happened on the day when the entire Catholic Church celebrates the resurrection of Jesus. Especially today, let us remember all those who were persecuted because of their faith. There are several dozen foreigners among the victims of the attacks, including a number of Americans, Brits and Danes.
On Easter Monday, Pope Francis stressed that Christ's resurrection calls on each of us to bring the Easter message of hope and life to the world. The Pope also offered prayers for the hundreds killed and injured in the series of bombings in Sri Lanka.
Egli, il vivente May the living Christ grant his peace to the entire beloved African continent, still rife with social tensions, conflicts, and at times violent forms of extremism that leave in their wake insecurity, distraction, and death. May a new page open in the history of that continent, in which all political, social, and religious components actively commit themselves to the pursuit of the common good and the reconciliation of the nations. May we let ourselves be renewed by him. Happy Easter.
Pace, di giustizia.
According to the latest opinion poll from Estimator, the ruling United Right coalition, fronted by the Law and Justice Party, is widening the gap to its nearest rival, the European coalition. That's ahead of the European elections.
The Conservative United Right coalition is in line for 41.6% of the vote, while the European coalition can expect 36.6%. Two other parties would make it past the electoral threshold of 5%. The newly founded Social Liberal Spring Party, led by Robert Biedroń, polled 8.8%, while the right-wing populist Cookies movement received 6.1%. The Polish elections to the European Parliament will take place on May 26th.
Tired of people endlessly staring into their smartphones on your night out? Welcome to the Polish capital, Warsaw, where, at a recent venue, 2,000 recycled mobile phones were attached to the walls of a room for an all-night house party, with music from Warsaw-based DJ duo Last Robots.
Taking a month to gather and a week to mount, the concept of a LED mobile phone wall came from local resident Karolina Gilon, who felt phones negatively impacted on the way people socialize at parties. After entering a competition run by drinks brand Desperados to co-host the latest in a series of epic parties, Gilon wanted to focus her guests' attention on the dance floor and away from being on their phones. People spend an average of 3 hours and 43 minutes per day on their mobile phones, according to the company's press release, and there is a growing trend of unplugged parties where phones are banned or locked away. The Warsaw Club Night was the first in a year-long series of epic parties imagined by You Events to collect global party ideas and create the first crowdsourced party called Your Fest in September. Techno and house DJ Seth Troxler, who created the track Me, You, Us for the series, is expected to headline.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather. It's followed by the business. Stay tuned for the culture, history, and lastly the travel.